on the Cambridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, this is the Chirpcast, your source for everything Ball State athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Cardinals, Mick Tidrow.
It's a fun edition of Chirpcast of the Coaches Show here today, looking back at Central Michigan, previewing UConn with head coach Mike Neu, defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton, and linebacker Sidney Houston Jr. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. You can find us there. Well, Mike, appreciate you jumping on as always.
It's great to be here, especially on a Monday where we're talking about a victory.
That's very, very true, and it's a big victory. 17-16 win over Central Michigan. There's a lot to dive into about what we saw on Saturday, but overall, if you took the scope off and just looked at this game from a general perspective, what did you see after that win?
Well, first and foremost, proud of our football team for just finding a way. Obviously, you work all week, every week, to try to make sure you execute at a high level in all three phases. The defense on Saturday was phenomenal for 4 quarters, championship defense for 4 quarters. What they were able to do against a good football team, one of the top runners in the country, what they're able to do to contain and really limit plays in the passing game, getting after the quarterback, getting 3 sacks, forcing 2 turnovers, one of which we scooped up and scored. Sidney Houston did, was awesome. And just it was a dominating defensive day, and every time we needed a big play situationally, whether it was some of the 4th down stops that we had or holding them to 5 of 20 on 3rd down. It was just an awesome day overall, and really that was the formula for the game Saturday. And then you flip to the special teams and you just look at, especially in the case of Lucas Burrow and our punt team, because going into the game they led the country in blocked punts. The special teams unit, Coach Conley did a great job all week long, just emphasizing communication. We were able to get that handled, and Lucas delivered with one of his best days as a Cardinal, really, and he had 4 punts inside the 20, and you were there. It was challenging conditions, with the wind and all that, and for him to be able to tune that out, block that out, and just go execute was awesome. And then, obviously offensively it wasn't what we wanted, certainly in the first half, but thankfully the defense and the special teams had the offenses back. We were able to get going in the second half with the run game. We just really committed to that at halftime, and the way that got going there, we just, that was a formula for us just to grind out some tough yards. Carson ran hard like he always does, and it's just a great win on the road. You want every one of them to be, awesome in all 3 phases, but sometimes you have a win like that, and that was awesome. Really proud of our guys because, winning on the road in this conference, and we played 3 conference games. They've all been 1 possession.
That sounds like Maction, doesn't it?
It does.
It does sound like Maction. I'm glad you brought up Lucas Burrow, just named Mac Specialist of the Week for his performance. It seemed like every time he went out there to punt the football, something good was about to happen, and that really set up the defense in a good position to play good football.
It really did, and I'm proud of Lucas. He worked so hard to be all the way from Australia, and he's been embraced here ever since he arrived on campus, and he's worked so hard to be able to see him go out there and have a day like that, and just take it in stride. That's just who Lucas is. He just kind of takes it in stride. But he'll be a fun interview all week long with his awesome accent. And, our team loves him. And you're right. Every time he went out there, something positive happened.
And he's probably had some ice cream sandwiches now since he's moved to the United States,
so.
Right? Something needs to happen there.
That's right.
And Lucas Burrow, Special Teams Player of the Week for the Mid-American Conference. You mentioned so many dynamic points that we want to get to here on the Chirpcast and Coaches Show because of what the game looked like against Central Michigan. Let's go ahead and start off with the defense because that defense was absolutely electric. Only gave up the 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal. One of those possessions, they only had to give up 3 yards, so put in a tough position. Overall, what went well for this defense?
I just think first they responded to the challenge. Coming off a week ago in which all the talk was that we gave up over 300 yards rushing against Northern Illinois. What would happen this week when we faced a running back that was an All-American, one of the top running backs in the nation, and to be able to hold Big Lou under 100 yards and a 2.7-yard average. Our guys responded to the challenge. They tackled well. Coach Stockton had them ready to go all week. I think it speaks, the credit where credit is due. Our guys had a short-term memory because a week ago it was a shootout, a different type of game, different type of formula. And these these guys responded and came out and had a dominant defensive day from start to finish. And it was awesome, and as you mentioned, really, forcing the 2 turnovers that they did, we weren't able to capitalize on the 1 turnover. The second one we did because Sidney picked it up and ran it to 3 yards or 2.5 yards or whatever it was into the end zone. But yeah, we put them in, a bad position when there with the 1 turnover that, was on a screen play and got knocked loose from John's hand there and set up great field position. So really just proud of them, proud of that unit overall, because there's so many players on the defensive side of the ball that stepped up during different moments in the game and played big for 4 quarters.
Well, Haven Fields on our radio broadcast talked about, I can't really give out one MVP. I have to give it to the whole defensive unit because everybody played well. All 3 levels were in sync with each other. And we were talking about the defensive back group quite a bit against Central Michigan. And every single one of those DBs that played in that game made a big play at one point or another. How has this group just gotten better?
I think it's awesome. And I think it speaks to the competition in that room because, when Nick was banged up a little bit and you saw what Red Potts has done the last 2 weeks has been awesome. He has delivered. And he has definitely made the most of his opportunity when his number was called. But all 3 of those guys, Red Potts, Nick Jones, AJ, the safeties, Jaquan, Malcolm, Jordan Riley, all those guys stepped up during the course of the game, whether it was a big play, a pass breakup, whether it was a big tackle in the open field. There were so many moments throughout the game where those guys stepped up and played big. And you mentioned it, all the way, all 3 levels, guys stepped up and really did some special things all game long.
And when we talked about all of those safeties and cornerbacks being able to play in the game, it was crazy because every time we saw different players on the field mixed in, we're like, okay, this player's going to make a play. And then they did. It was wild to see it because the rotation it didn't matter what the rotation was against Central Michigan because they were all making plays.
That's exactly right. And you credit, our staff too. Not only Coach Stockton, but Coach Jay-Z, Coach Vic Hall, for just always having those guys ready to go, always having them ready in the meeting room, always having them ready on the practice field, making sure they're bought in to that approach because you never know when you're going to get more reps. And for those guys that stepped in, and especially, the number of guys that played on Saturday, they all did a great job of stepping in and being ready, knowing what the defense was, knowing what the call was, and just going out there and executing and relaxing and playing the game the way it's meant to be played.
You mentioned Red Potts. I definitely want to talk about him and his development through the last 2 games. What have you seen specifically in these past 2 weeks that have made him more dynamic?
I think he just, he was ready, and he's been, chomping at the bit to get on the field there. And, Red is been here with us. He's been with our program for several years here. And, obviously his goal has always been to be a starting corner for our football program. And he is. And he's one of those guys that, especially with his role increasing the way it has the last 2 weeks, he's played big. And I think that only makes everybody in that room better. Competition makes everybody better. Iron sharpens iron, and when you're, competing inside your own building, that's a good thing because that's going to make sure everybody's bringing their A game and they're ready to go. And when they do get snaps, they're going to make the most of it. Now it'll be awesome. Nick's back and healthy and all those good things, and we'll be in a great situation to be able to rotate those guys and make sure we keep them fresh.
So we've talked a lot about the DB group, the linemen, the linebackers. They played some of their best football of the season as well. Just looking specifically at the defensive line, how did they engage their best football against Central Michigan?
I think it's awesome to have 3 sacks, and all 3 of those sacks were by 3 different defensive linemen in the group. Jack Sape, Tavion Woodard, Kyle King, all 3 of those guys. And I think, certainly over the first part of the season here, they've been challenged some, and they've just stayed the course. They just keep putting in the work on the practice field. Coach McKenzie has done a good job with that group, and I think it just, they just kept staying the course, and now to see those guys step up and deliver and make some big plays against a good football team and against a good quarterback, it was awesome to see that for that group of guys on Saturday.
What do you think was the biggest adjustment and biggest difference between Northern and Central in the run game defensively?
Obviously those 2 huge runs that took place in that Northern Illinois Illinois game was all about communication. That's been a big point of emphasis in practice last week. That'll be a big point of emphasis in practice this week. But the communication was at a high level, and guys were in position. Guys did their job, and I think that's why you see the 2.7-yard average. You see Holden Lou, he had to grind out some tough yards. It wasn't going to be one of those where, our guys were doing a good job and he wasn't going to get loose in the open field. And we had a lot of bodies around the football, and they did a good job of wrapping up and getting them to the ground. So credit the players. Credit the players for responding from a week ago, making the necessary corrections on the practice field and just going out and getting it done.
We talked about Lou Nichols leading up to the game against Central Michigan and what the game plan would be to try and stop him. And he, yes, ran over 30 times, which usually means a good thing for Central Michigan. But like you said, the defense only giving up 2.7 yards per carry. How important is it for the defense to have those types of performances?
Yeah, every week, it all starts every single week, no matter who the opponent is. We want to stop the run. We want to be good against the run. We work on it a ton. Obviously we work the team periods as much as you can possibly work team periods in practice, but also just the tackling circuits that take place at all, and everybody's involved in the tackling circuit, not just a guy. It's all three levels. The D linemen are involved, the linebackers are involved, the secondary guys are involved, and it's one of those preaching habits, preaching technique, and just continuing to do that over and over and over so that you become a good tackling team. That's important because, yes, missed tackles are going to take place, but a lower number of missed tackles is certainly the goal so that we can have a day like we did on Saturday.
Coach Neu joining us here on Chirpcast and the Coaches Show. Looking back at Central Michigan, we'll get to UConn in the final non-conference game coming up here in a few minutes. Coach, we've talked about the good from the defense. Let's go to the offensive side of things. First, starting off with the first half, what were the struggles like against Central Michigan?
Yeah, we struggled to sustain any drives, and really, the execution on third down was not good on Saturday. You can dice it, slice it, however you want. It just simply wasn't good enough, and that's something that we've been hard at work, taking a deep dive, look at everything. We got to make sure that we have the best plan possible in place for that to be able to go out and execute. And so it's not just one specific thing. We just didn't execute at a good enough level in the first half on Saturday offensively at all, at every position, whether it's the offensive line, whether it was receiver group, whether it was a tight end group, whether it was a quarterbacks, running back. Everybody that was on that field obviously has a part, has a hand in the success of each play, and we got to be better. It's just plain and simple as that. We have to be better, and we will. And obviously, we're fortunate that I told the guys, we won by one more point than our opponent. That's the goal. We have to get better offensively, but thankfully our defense was outstanding, and that's what having each other's back is all about. That's what being the best family on Saturday is all about, being the best team, because the game ebbs and flows. One side might be strong one day, the other side might not be strong that day, but you feed off of each other, and you always make sure that you have each other's back.
How do you improve on third downs?
We have to. Obviously, looking at the film, what's been successful for us through 6 games on third down, what's not been successful. We need to gravitate more towards what's been successful, what was working, and stay away from the things that weren't working. And obviously, these guys didn't do anything to us on third downs from a scheme standpoint that we hadn't seen in the previous 5 games. So it's a matter of execution. It's a matter of putting our players in a position to be confident and go out and execute. And, I know we'll make those improvements, and I know we'll get that done.
Coach, you talked about the running backs. Carson Steele, just named MAC Offensive Player of the Week. Carson had a very special second half against Central Michigan after only having 15 yards in the first half on 10 carries. It's a completely different half, and you talked about the adjustments the offensive line made, the offense made as a whole. What were those adjustments to get Carson a little bit more open field? Yeah,
and obviously credit the offensive group, credit the guys up front on the offensive line, because at halftime it was about as bad as it could be. And so for those guys to come out, listen to the halftime adjustments, listen to the halftime communication from the coaches, and then go out and really play at a much higher level in the second half, and really starting with the first play of the second half to be able to get Carson, 12 yards there on the toss play to the left, and really had a really good first drive to start that second half there. We didn't put points on the board, went for it on fourth down, and in less than a yard there in the red zone. We didn't execute, we didn't score a touchdown, but I think that really helped set the tone for us offensively for that second half. And then, obviously, thankfully, the defense came back out and got that turnover on the touchdown right away, which was a big momentum shift. But Carson is a special player, and you know you're going to get his best for 4 quarters. He always runs hard. He always practices hard. He's a pro in terms of how his approach is to everything associated with the day, meetings, practice, taking care of himself, class, you name it. He's just a pro that way, and I think what he does day in, day out in this building, it pays off for him on Saturday.
You talked about the first drive of the third quarter being a pretty big turning point for the offense against Central Michigan. Didn't get the points that you wanted, but what was the approach going in for it, fourth down on those back-to-back runs with John trying to get in the end zone?
Yeah, and, I look back at that, and that's my fault. We need to make sure we get the ball in the hands of number 33 down there, but, the surprise element of trying to sneak the ball when they're not lined up, it's been very good for us. It hasn't been very good for us this year, so obviously getting the ball in the hands of number 33, but the approach was, let's line up as fast as we can. They can't get get dug into the dirt or turf, if you will, and maybe we can get a nice little surge and score a touchdown from a half yard away. So that was the thought process. That's my fault, but we'll get that corrected. But I think more than anything, we wanted to make sure that coming out in the second half, we're going to establish a run and we're going to feed this guy. And, he just gets stronger as the game goes on. That's what took place in the third quarter and fourth quarter. The offensive line got stronger there in the second half as the game went on, and we were able to wear on them a little bit. So we got to continue with that and obviously make the corrections this week in practice that need to be made to improve overall as an offensive team.
With head coach Mike Neu here on Chirpcast, the Coaches Show. Now we're going to take a look at UConn. Final non-conference game of the season, week 7 of the year. Odd to have a non-conference game week 7 after having all of these explosive games against Mid-American Conference teams. But, Coach, overall, looking at what UConn brings to the table, it's early in the week, but what are some of the challenges that they pose? Yeah,
listen, Coach Mora in his first year there has done a great job. Obviously, I'm familiar with Coach Mora from his time in the NFL. In fact, my first, when I coached arena football, and Jim Mora at that time was with the Atlanta Falcons, and he was sitting in the front row for the arena game when we played because Arthur Blank owned the team. When we played at Georgia, he was there. So I've had some interaction with him, but he's done a great job there, and I think it's pretty awesome to see that, they just mentioned it after the game this week, and this is the first time they've had 3 wins since 2017. But you take the 3 Power 5 games out of it, this is a good football team. You take the Michigan, you take North Carolina State, you take Syracuse out of that, which 3 obviously great football teams having great seasons right now. This is a good team, and you're going to get their best shot. They're going to play hard. They're big on both sides of the ball. They're physical on both sides of the ball. They make you earn it. They're going to want to establish the run coming in here. That's what they did against FIU this past game. And then defensively, man, they play sound defense, and they've got great size at all 3 levels, and they're going to make you earn it. And I got a lot of respect for the job that he's done so far. And it's only in his first year, and this is going to be a tough challenge here for the final non-conference game. Weird to say that it's week number 7, but it's going to be a tough non-conference game, and we got to have a great week here. Fortunate to have fall break here on Monday and Tuesday, where we can we can take full advantage of these couple of days we have preparation-wise.
What does fall break look like for a football team?
Well, nobody would know. Thankfully for the players, doesn't change anything at all for the coaching staff, obviously, but for the players, not as stressed out here for a couple of days with academics. You got a tight schedule every single day, so we can maybe let them sleep in for an extra hour tomorrow before we get on the practice field. But for those guys, not have to race out of here. And some guys, we've had a couple guys that have had to miss practice because they have class conflicts, and certainly the academic piece comes first. But it'll be nice to not have to worry about that for a day where we have everybody here and have all hands on deck to take full advantage of the first day of practice.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you jumping on as always.
Well, it's great to be here.
That's head coach Mike Neu on Chirpcast and the Coaches Show, looking back at Central Michigan and diving into UConn, the final non-conference game of the 2022 season. We'll have Sidney Houston and defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton joining us next on Chirpcast.
At Greg Hubler Auto Group, every day is a great day to buy a vehicle because every vehicle comes with the Greg Hubler Promise. On top of big savings, you'll also get scheduled maintenance included, complimentary roadside assistance, service pickup and drop-off, and a car wash with every service visit. Shop new Ford, Hyundai, Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC models, plus tons of used makes and models across 4 Central Indiana locations. The Greg Hubler promise comes with every vehicle purchase. Visit GregHublerAuto.com to learn more.
Welcome back into Chirpcast. We are with Sidney Houston Jr., Ball State outside linebacker. Sidney, appreciate you jumping on the show.
Appreciate you for having me.
So, Sidney, it's been a fun couple of weeks for the defense, especially against Central Michigan after the 17-16 win. Just want to go through that game against the Chippewas. What was working well for the defensive unit?
Honestly, it was we knew coming in that we had to get vertical penetration to be able to make Lou Nichols take it sideline to sideline and not get north-south. So we knew we had to make his feet stop, and we knew to be able to do that, we had to get vertical penetration and just be violent and just get upfield and just do whatever we had to do to stop the run. And honestly, it just, like you say, it was a pride thing, just knowing that people who came in last week and IU had a good running game against us, even though we came out with the win, it wasn't what we wanted as far as the defense is stopping the run. So we knew we had to pick it up this week is to continue to build and build and build. So it definitely felt good to just know that everybody was on the same page and knowing what we had to do to get it done and stop the run. On
a week-to-week basis, what are some of those small things that you do work on to make sure you can stop the run then the next game?
Honestly, like just taking drills in practice, like Coach Conley, Coach McKenzie, and Coach Stock just constantly giving us drills each day. And each new week is a new one just to sharpen our skills and just get better at, like you say, getting our hand placement better and fighting double teams. Like you say, we've seen a lot of pin pull last week against Central Michigan. The tight ends blocked down. So just getting used to it. Like I say, we switch it. We do what we got to do. Like you say, everybody take the sacrifices, whether it's eat double teams, whether it's spilling the puller. You just got to do what you got to do to do the grit and grind the dirty work to make sure your brother can set up for success.
Yeah, how about this defense? 6 sacks the past 2 games. What is working in the pass rush game?
Honestly, just knowing that we have to take more into the details and finish the rush, like bending the edge and turning the wheel and just reaching the outside ran for the quarterback and attacking a point of attack on the quarterback and not attacking him. Like you say, the object is to get the ball and just attacking the ball and trying to sack the ball and not the QB. So just doing everything we can, just like you say, taking more emphasis in practice and just doing the drills and watching more film and taking into contact with what other teams are doing on them to get sacks and just the pressure. We definitely been heating them up a little bit too because we know we had to stop the run. So heating it up definitely helped. The games were coming clean. So like you say, you got to help each other.
You said reaching for the wheel?
Turn the wheel.
Turning the wheel. Okay, yeah. What's that mean?
Basically meaning when you finally get past the offensive lineman, you beat his hands, and you turn the edge. You got to turn your inside arm and continue to rotate it to keep it from recovering and being able to push you by the quarterback.
Okay, how do you get good at that?
Just reps, practice. Practice make perfect, and like you say, just continue to do it over and over till it comes where it's second nature, where you just doing it. You walking around the house just doing it with your hand, just practicing the motion because you just know it's a habit. It's like any other habit. You just gotta, like you say, muscle memory.
So you may be making some eggs and you're reaching for the wheel. You're turning the wheel.
Yes, sir.
So Sidney, you had a pretty big game against Central Michigan. The sack, or the fumble return for a touchdown. What was that moment like for you? What did you see develop there?
Honestly, we knew it was a jet, so I knew my job was to attack the jet. So once I seen that they had mishandled the snap, and they just kind of like parted like the Red Sea and just left the ball there for my taking. Like you say, it was like Christmas came early, so it just was like pick the ball up and make sure you didn't fumble or fall. That's all I was thinking. Don't fumble or fall. And once I scored across the end zone, hearing the whistle blowing and finally seeing the ref raise her hands, it was like kind of like a baby on, like you say, getting some candy. That's how I felt. Like I couldn't stop smiling. Just seeing the emotion on your teammate's face, especially in a tight game like this. Like you say, we've had 3 one-possession MAC games, and like you say, I'm new to the MAC, but they've really shown me this year like how important every possession is, and just knowing that I came away with something like that in a crucial game was definitely big for me.
It's your first career touchdown?
Yes, sir. First college career touchdown. I had one in high school, but like you say, once you get to college, I kind of hit the reset button with everything. So
yeah.
I say it's my first career touchdown.
What was it when you talk about looking around, making sure that everything was clean, no penalties, everything like that? But when you got to the sideline, what was that moment like for you?
It was like kind of like having a mini party on the sideline. Like everybody jumping up, we yelling. I grabbed a turnover belt, and it's like every emotion that you've been waiting to feel all year, like every game before the game, I'm visualizing something like that. Like I feel like you gotta see it to believe it. Honestly, like I see myself making these plays and I see my teammates making these plays in my head before the game. And so once they happen and you actually see the emotion and everything just play out, it's like no other feeling. I can't really even explain it. Just knowing the joy from your teammates and just seeing everybody just proud of each other at that moment.
I love that you brought up the visualization part because John Paddock, the quarterback for your team, continues to talk about visualization when he was sitting on the bench for 4 years before he got his opportunity to be the starter. How much does visualization help going into a week?
Honestly, you got to be able to see yourself do it. So when the situation comes up in the game, you won't blink. Like this game is a matter of split seconds. So every second counts. So you don't have time to think. You just got to react. And if you constantly, like you say, practice makes perfect. And if you practice in these scenarios in your head every week, you just building muscle memory and building muscle memory in your brain, in your body, and it all goes together. So once that moment comes, you're ready for it. And you don't have to think. You just go at it full speed and just attack it full force, and that's all you got to do with every play, every day, in life and life outside of football. I kind of use that same mindset.
And that's exactly what you did on that touchdown on the fumble recovery. Sidney Houston joining us here on Chirpcast and the Coaches Show. Sidney, it's been a pretty long, wild journey for you. This is your first taste of Division I football, first taste of Mid-American Conference football, like you said. What's that journey been like for you to get to this point?
Honestly, it's been rough, but it's been, like you say, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like you say, being here is like kind of one of my like joyful moments. Like you say, coming out of high school, I wasn't highly recruited. I mean, I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the fastest guy, but I always knew my motive was going to take me places. And just playing the D2 level is still high level football, and they showed me like it's a different grit and grind there. Like you say, we're a little spoiled here. I would say definitely compared to Division II. So coming here is just like you see how athletes are able to excel because it's a lot less stress because of the financial situations here and some of the staff and the support you have academically. So it felt good, and just knowing that all the hard work I did, even at the Division II level, paid off. Like, I love all my coaches and my teammates there. Like, without them, I still wouldn't be the person here I am today. I wouldn't be here without them. Like, so I just take everything, like you say, I don't take nothing for granted. None of these situations, I feel like everything happens for a reason. Even with just, like you say, coming in, I played as a true freshman at McKendree, so I was able to, get my feet wet a little bit earlier than a lot of players. So it helped just my mental, just knowing that people have confidence in me. Like you say, everybody coming to college had that kind of confidence, like that emptiness, just knowing, like, am I good enough? And it kind of was the same thing coming from D2 to coming to D1. Like, everybody's bigger, everybody's faster, everybody's smarter. So just coming here and just knowing that I can actually excel on this level, and like you say, every day is about getting better, but just knowing that I can compete and still be who I am everywhere I go, it kind of just like a relief in a sense. It's like knowing that I haven't arrived at nothing, but just knowing that I've made an impact on my brothers, and just knowing that they can trust me on the field and off the field.
What was that phone call like when you received an offer from Ball State?
Honestly, it was like, it's kind of crazy because one of my best friends, his name Keaton Higgins, he go here. He's just a regular student. He's been here since our freshman year in 2019. So I visited him a couple times. So I came here, my first time visiting him was the Western Michigan game, the MAC championship.
Yeah.
So with the crazy ending and everything. And I was in the stands watching that. I was here.
Okay.
So, like, I was able to meet a lot of the guys, meet AJ and Bryce and Sticks and stuff when I came. So just knowing, like, that I seen how the team functions, I seen how they react on the sideline through adversity. So, like, I'm watching the game like I'm on the team already. So my best friend always tell me, like, bro, you need to come to Ball State. You need to come to Ball State, bro. I'm just like, man, yeah, I'm still at McKinney, so, I got a lot of pride. So I'm like, man, forget Ball State. They don't want me, all this. So I'm focused on what I had at task. But once I hit the portal and actually got the offer, it just, like, was a dream come true. Like, I visualized myself, like, we talk about this every day, like, bro, you could come to Ball State. I know you can come to Ball State. And just like my other friends just telling me the same thing. And actually coming here and, seeing the competition, I'm like, I could really see myself playing here, but I kept it to myself. So once I hit the portal and Coach Stock called me and told me that I had the offer, it was like, I kind of want to cry because, like, it was a bittersweet day for me, actually. Like, it was December 24th when I got the offer, 2021. And that was the same day that my best friend was shot and killed. So it kind of, like, I was happy for the moment, but like a couple hours later, I really couldn't even think about the offer, honestly. So it was a lot. It was a bittersweet moment because, like you say, he was one of those friends, one of my best friends, and he was one of the ones that telling me you can go to Ball State and you can do this and you can do that. So not being able to share that moment with him kind of was like, wasn't what I wanted it to be, but like that's my motivation every game. Like just knowing that he wanted to see me come here to Ball State and playing that Cardinal Red and just show out. So that's what I try to do every week, just knowing that my best friend wanted to see me come to this place and wanted to see me play football and be the best person I can be here. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Do you play for him?
Yeah, I play for him and I play for my mom. My mom passed away too when I was 16. And it played a lot on me because, like you say, I'm a father. This is my first time being away from home. McKendree was 20 minutes away from my hometown, so my grandma is my rock. And then I got 2 daughters too, so like just being away from them for the first time in my life, it definitely was hard. And just knowing that like I got them coming out here every weekend, every home game, it is like that's my extra motivation. When I got 2 daughters that look up to me, as like they depend on me, literally. And just knowing that I have to do certain things that other people don't have to do just every day. Like, everybody ain't got to worry about calling their kids every day, but I do. And most people have to do that as a college student, but that's just like, people could use it as a negative, especially where I come from, but I just try to use it as a positive. Like, why not? Why not be the best for them? Why not go get sacks for them? Why not get TFLs for them? Like, every play I make, I smile because I know they watching, and I know they watching from above, and I know they watching on TV. So they definitely who I play for.
How is all of that you just described with your best friend, your mom, and your daughters, how does that make you better in every phase of life?
Honestly, it just like it drives me to never quit. Like, no, I can never take no for an answer. Failure is not an option for me, honestly. I mean, regardless, I'm an optimistic person, I definitely would say. So anything I've been hit with, I always kind of take it with the mindset that it's somebody going through something worse. And why not? Why not be the kid that overcome all this and still be a success story? Why not? Like, why you can't be that person? Like, nobody who became successful thought they was going to be the one in the beginning until they actually put the work in and saw the benefits. So why not believe it from the beginning? And just like, it just build. That's why I go so hard, just knowing that like my grandma lost her only daughter. Yeah, she continues every day. I can't think about it. Just me losing my mom. She lost her only daughter too. So like, why would I give up and not go hard when she go hard every day? So like, it's just the small things like that that just keep me going. Really.
No question. How old are your daughters?
Sanila, she's 3 years old, and Saraya, she'll be 2 years old in December 31st. So.
They come to every game?
Yeah, they come. They came to every home game so far, and I've enjoyed every weekend. I can't really hear them as much as I could when I was in McKendree because it's definitely a bigger crowd. But after the games, them running up to me, it's no better feeling than that. Just knowing that you just played your heart out and your daughter's just coming to give you as much love as possible. So it's magical. I wouldn't trade nothing for it.
How do your teammates are involved with your daughters? How do they welcome them into the team and everything?
It's good because I'm not the only father on the team. Like, Jalen Turner's a father, Red Potts a father. Like, so it's like they already kind of knew once me coming in, and I had 2. And then JT had a daughter already. It was like, it was no difference. Like, they always asking me about them, checking in on them, how they doing. Every day somebody asks me about them. Like, it never fails. Somebody asks me about them. Like, especially now that my 3-year-old has started school, they checking in on them. When I'm calling the facility, they popping the camera, they waving and stuff. So like, and they come to the games, it's like, it's like you say, they uncles. That's what she call them. They all uncle. Hey uncle. Hey uncle. So it's definitely a great feeling just knowing that with dealing with football and your personal life, your brothers are always there for you. So the stress level has definitely been very low for me since I've been here because of my brothers, like you say.
Well, Sidney, we appreciate you telling your personal story. I know that can be tough stuff to talk about, and you've used that in the way that you can in life, and we appreciate that. Just one more football thing for you before we let you go. Overall this season through 6 games, where do you think the strongest points have come on the defensive side?
I feel like the strongest points have come just in our confidence and just taking pride in the little things more each week because, like, we knew coming in the first 3 weeks we were leading the MAC in penalties, and we were shooting ourselves in the foot. And like you say, we've had 3 one-possession MAC games, so we can't have penalties, especially self-inflicted wounds, cause us to lose games. And like you say, we felt that in the first MAC game. So we just knew that we had to clean up on the little things, just not jumping off sides, getting away from getting too handsy and getting pass interference. I had unsportsmanlike the first week, and I felt that, and we all felt that, and we realized that these were the things that are going to get good teams beat. And we knew from the beginning, since the summer, that we had a good team. But if you kill yourself, you can't do nobody. It don't matter what the opponent do. If you're gonna cut your wrist off on your own, so like we just knew that we had to just protect ourselves. It starts with us. It don't matter what they do, as long as we beat us and control us, and it's us versus everybody. That's what I say all the time. Us versus everybody, and it's just like as long as we control what we can control, we're gonna be good. So our confidence is getting stronger every week, and we're gelling. So we just got to go 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time.
Well, you talk about ourselves, Sidney. We're proud that you're a Ball State Cardinal, and we're glad to have you here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
That's Sidney Houston joining us here on Chirpcast, the Coaches Show. We'll have defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton join the show coming up next on Chirpcast.
At Greg Hubler Auto Group, every day is a great day to buy a vehicle because every vehicle comes with the Greg Hubler Promise. On top of big savings, you'll also get scheduled maintenance included, complimentary roadside assistance, service pickup and drop-off, and a car wash with every service visit. Shop new Ford, Hyundai, Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC models, plus tons of used makes and models across 4 Central Indiana locations. The Greg Hubler Promise comes with every vehicle purchase. Visit GregHublerAuto.com to learn more.
Already a loaded show here on the Chirpcast Coaches Show. We're sitting down with defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton after the win against Central Michigan and looking forward to what is to come in the last non-conference game against the Yukon Huskies at Shubin Stadium. Coach, appreciate you jumping on as always.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with the big win at Central Michigan, Coach. That was a really good defensive effort. We talked about it throughout the course of the season of what the team's going to look like defensively and where the improvements are going to come from. Just looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, what would you say about your defense against Central Michigan?
I mean, the biggest thing, we did a great job stopping the run. We did a really good job tackling, gang tackling. Lou Nichols is one of the better backs in our conference and the country, so we knew it was a very big challenge for us leading up to it. And at the end of the day, we were really good in the critical situations, whether that's third down, red zone, and it was awesome just to see our guys finish and play and finish the fourth quarter.
What was the key to bringing down Nichols? Because, as you said, one of the best runners in the country.
I mean, the biggest thing is just the first guys got to do a great job wrapping them up, running their feet, and we got to have 11 hats to the football, which we constantly stress throughout the week. We knew he was going to get his yards, but at the end of the day, our effort had to be the ultimate eraser.
Coach, what was the biggest difference from last week against Northern Illinois and Central Michigan in the running game specifically?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think as a staff and as players, we felt embarrassed about how many yards we given up in the run game, especially versus Northern, where it's something that we hang our hat on. Here at Ball State is being physical up front and at the linebacker position, doing a great job tackling. So as a staff and as the guys felt too, we didn't do our job. So it was a big point of emphasis, and it's even going to be a bigger point this week because we're facing a team that also does an awesome job running the ball.
How do you make it an emphasis in practices to make sure you're pinpointing, stopping the run, and making those big adjustments like you did on a week-to-week basis?
Whether that's individual drills, working on getting all blocks or tackling, or just during our team periods or scout periods, I mean, making sure that's the main focus throughout the week and making it as physical as possible as we can on a Tuesday, Wednesday practice so when the game comes, we're ready.
You mentioned the defensive line being a unit that has expanded too. They had a phenomenal game against Central Michigan, getting to the quarterback, stopping the run. Overall, what improvements did you see from that defensive line against CMU? I
guess really that's what they've been expected themselves to do all year, and it's awesome that it finally clicked, and we got to keep building on that momentum. They're not a group that's like, oh, we did an awesome job. Like, that's what they expected themselves to do, and it's awesome that they showed up when we needed them the most, and I know they're going to continue to do that the rest of the year.
We talked about the depth at the defensive line group, being able to rotate in so many people and have effectiveness and no drop-off. How did you see that on display against Central Michigan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we played 92 snaps, and the most somebody played was around 60, so there's guys playing 30, 40 snaps. So, I mean, I think that's the reason why we're able to be so physical at the point of attack in the fourth quarter, because those guys are fresh and not tired, like maybe some other places or maybe some other positions that have to play a lot more plays. We have really a lot of depth there, so it's really split evenly there.
One of those guys that seemed like was fresh the entire game was Jack Sape coming in and making plays. What did you see from him against the Chippewas?
Biggest thing was just his effort and his strain to stay in his gap, and he was probably one of the guys I challenged last week versus Northern, just to focus on getting off blocks and straining to do your job, and he did an amazing job and was very productive for us.
We could go on and talk about pretty much every single one of these defensive linemen, and I kind of want to, because it was a group that has been talked about so much throughout the course of the year. Tavian Woodard, also a very strong game against Central Michigan. Specifically, how have you seen him grow this year?
Biggest thing with him is his confidence is building game by game, and started with Georgia Southern getting a sack there, and as well as versus Central getting a sack, and just being physical and really being the guy that everyone in this program knows that he can be, and he's going to keep building on it, and I'm excited to see what he does this Saturday.
How about Kyle King? That guy's been all over the place too.
It was awesome. Kyle came in this program. We knew exactly what we were getting, a tough, physical, blue-collar type kid, and it was awesome to see him go out there and make some plays and just continue to add depth to that room. And, I mean, really at the end of the day, whoever practices the hardest and that position group's going to start, because all those guys deserve to start, which is awesome that we built so much depth there that you never know who might be the starter once Saturday hits, but it's about who practices the hardest.
I was just about to ask, with so many talented and a big depth room back there, you talk about whoever's performing best in practice being able to start. How do you evaluate that during the week to make sure that you're having the right rotations against certain teams?
I mean, the biggest thing is whoever has the most physical practice. I mean, whoever's doing a great job getting all blocks, running to the ball. I mean, it shows up in the games as well. You can't just turn it on Saturdays. Like Coach always says, there's no such thing as a gamer. You got to be a practicer. So those guys got to do a great job competing with each other throughout the week to see who gets the start, because whoever does the best job in practice, it shows up in the games as well.
We're talking with defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton here on Chirpcast of the Coaches Show. Coach, we've talked a lot about the defensive line up to this point, but it seemed like the linebackers were going crazy too against Central Michigan, and one of them joined the show, Sidney Houston Jr., a little bit ago. Looking at that defensive group, specifically with the linebackers, Haven Fields on our radio broadcast kept saying it feels like there's a clone of Cole Pierce just going everywhere, all over the field. How did you see him performing in Central Michigan?
I mean, the biggest thing with all those guys is just their effort. I mean, we give them keys to read. They have a job to do. But at the end of the day, and we stress it so much, but they play with such a high motor, and it goes to about their preparation throughout the week so they can go out and play fast. But those guys, Sidney, I mean, you turn on the tape and you're like, wow, these guys play with relentless effort, and I think it's infectious with the rest of the group as well.
And trying to stop a group like Central Michigan with that running back with Lou Nichols, like we talked about, and what Northern did the week before, is the confidence continuing to grow with this defense where it's at right now?
Oh, absolutely. But, I mean, I think that's the best part about college football. Every week's a new week. Like Coach says, we had to start our process all over again. Just because we did something last week doesn't mean we're going to do it this week. But we got to work one day at a time and hopefully earn a win on Saturday.
And a group that has been playing it one game at a time is a defensive back group. It seems like they all had something to do with the Central Michigan game, either batting balls, getting to the football and run plays. What was the strongest point about the DB room against Central Michigan?
They did an awesome job. I mean, we had so many PBUs being really the game before, we weren't as contested on some of those easier throws, and we did an awesome job being more on body, being physical at the point of attack, and they were awesome tacklers as well. I mean, you can just turn on the tape and see the physicality that they play with, so they got to keep that up for sure.
What makes Jordan Riley and Malcolm Lee so good, and Amos as well, from the safety spots, especially in the run game, because they were making plays at the line of scrimmage in the run game all night long?
I mean, really just reading your keys and reacting at a high level. I mean, just all it takes is 1 second. You got to be able to react. That's on playing defense is all about reaction. And Coach Jay-Z, Coach Hall does a great job throughout the week coaching those guys up, making sure that they're able to react fast and play fast.
We've talked a lot about all the good stuff from Central Michigan. When you turned on the tape, what are some things you do want to fine-tune?
I mean, at the end of the day, we got to continue to work on our communication as well. I think you can turn on the tape and you can see at times there was some confusion for sure on the field, and I'm sure UConn's looking at that, and we got to continue to be great tacklers. We got to do a better job of getting all blocks. Maybe it might not hurt us here or there, but if you turn on the tape and you're really being nitpicky, you can see those are some of the things we got to continue to work on as well.
Seems like communication's always a big talking point, especially midway through the season. How do guys get better at communicating in practice, and then even when it's not in practice, maybe away from the field too?
Oh, yeah. One, just being in the film room with each other and making it as if it's a game rep. I mean, that's probably the thing we stress to our guys as well, how to prepare. And some people just might watch film and just watch it, but you have to act like you're actually in the game, going through your process, going through your calls. And then on the field, we got to do a good job as coaches. It starts with us making sure that we're holding them accountable and making sure that they are communicating with each other on the practice field, because they'll show up in the game as well.
With you being such a defensive-minded guy, of course, as the defensive coordinator of Ball State football, what are some ways that you have in practices shown and told guys how to be better communicators on an individual basis to try and cater to what they do as a communicator?
Really the biggest thing is whether it's using hand signals or verbal communication, just making sure on every single play that there's something going on, whether you can see it on the film that they're pointing or talking to each other. And at the end of the day, like, I know we want to get plays in, but sometimes you got to slow it down and make sure that you're hitting the point across that, listen, yeah, this might be something simple, but you got to make sure you're doing a better job communicating.
And how has the team overall grown in communication this year on defense?
Oh, I mean, tremendous. I mean, from day one of camp till now, we've done an awesome job communicating, especially since we have some younger guys there in the back end, like a Jordan Riley. It's getting better and better every single week, but there's always still room for improvement, so we got to build on some of the things that we saw that we did well on, some of the things we did bad we got to correct and get ready for Saturday.
We're with defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton here on Chirpcast and the Coaches Show. Coach, appreciate you jumping on here with us. Let's get to UConn, then we'll get you out of here. Yukon Huskies, it's the last non-conference game on the schedule this season. It feels pretty weird, right? Week 7, and we have a non-conference game against the Yukon Huskies at Schumann Stadium. It's early in the week, looking at preparation, but what are some things that do jump out about UConn's offense?
I mean, the biggest thing is they do an awesome job running the ball. I mean, they're going to be very similar to Northern in that aspect, so we got to do a great job of stopping the run. I actually G8 at UConn, so I'm really excited about this game. I keep yelling Yukon Huskies because that's what they always say. So obviously I'm from that part of the country, so it's awesome that I get to play a team where I've had high school teammates go play and close friends go play, so they're a phenomenal team. Head coach is a defensive guy, so they're going to be a tough physical group for sure, so I know they're coming with it, so we got to come with it because I know they're coming for it. It's going to be a physical game.
What's it like to go up against teams that have tons of connections for you personally?
Oh, no, it's awesome just because you know what type of players they're going to have, just because that's guys I kind of grew up with that same mindset, and you can see just the way they play. They're blue collar just like Ball State, so it's going to be a very close matchup. That's going to be a 4-quarter game, and at the end of the day, whoever's the most physical team on Saturday is going to win the game.
So it's a little personal on this one on the field, but then all the friendships will be back after the game, right?
Oh, every game is about just competing and trying to win, but it's just even cooler because I know some guys on the staff as well. I know a couple other coaches know some guys on the staff, and a couple of the guys on the staff I coached when I was a GA at UConn, so I know what type of players they were. They were tough, physical, hard-nosed guys, and you can see when you turn on the film that's what their players are as well.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining us here on Chirpcast as always.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Thank you.
That's defensive coordinator Tyler Stockton on Chirpcast. That does it for this edition. It's Ball State and UConn coming up in the last non-conference game at Schumann Stadium. Make sure to join us all season long. Check out ballstatesports.com for all of your information concerning Ball State sports, and you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all over the place.
This has been the Chirpcast with Mick Tidrow.